A warm hello to Sri Lankan Sports TV viewers, and this video we are going to look about the Sri Lanka versus Australia T20 series. Hopefully you're happy with full tanks of petrol, hopefully. And anyway, with Sri Lankan country, the country in crisis and everything, but cricket does put a smile in Sri Lankan fans' face, and also most of the people are happy that Sri Lanka has gone back hosting cricket matches with full crowd. And before the start of the tournament, people were a bit skeptical because they weren't sure if the fans would turn on, or Sri Lanka cricket had a bit of doubts if the stadiums would be full. But for their surprise, the stadiums were full and the fans turned out. So let's see how this tournament, this T20 series, panned out. And that's what we are going to talk in this series: the strengths of Australia, Sri Lanka, and how the series panned out. Talking about the first T20, as I told earlier, Sri Lanka cricket really had a doubt, if fans would turn up because of the crisis, obviously, because country not having short of dollars and also people not having enough money to get tickets. But for the surprise, the stadium sold out, and at one point Sri Lanka cricket should have been so surprised that wow, the tickets are being sold out, so probably the performance has to be very good as well. But let's see how the performance stand out in the first T20. Australia won the toss and put Sri Lanka into batting. So Sri Lanka, as a batting side with new youngsters, we expected them to perform very well, even though Sri Lanka's bowling is the most prominent one because we have the mystery spinners, and we expected the mystery spinners to really rattle the Australian lineup, and we'll see if that happened. So coming back to Sri Lankan batting, put into bat, Sri Lankan did get to some sort of a good start, but what happened next was a bit of disaster for Sri Lankan batting. Sri Lanka got off to a very good start, 59 for no loss. At the end of the 10th over, they were on 87 for 1 wicket, and during the 12th over, they were 100 for 1, and everyone thought, okay, Sri Lanka is going to go for a very good finish. But that's what not happened, because then Sri Lanka suddenly started collapsing. So from 100 to 1, Sri Lanka plummeted all the way to 128 all out, and Hazelwood produced an excellent spell there, picking up all 4 wickets in the middle overs, and then 128, not a very big score, but still we expected Sri Lanka team to put up a very good bowling performance. We had Vanindu Hasaranga, Mahesh Theekshana, all these mystery spinners coming and taking wickets. That's what was to be for the climax for Sri Lankan fans, but that's not happened. Warner and Finch just went all guns blazing. Even though Mahesh Theekshana early on in the spell, maybe the first and the second overs of his, tried to pick up some wickets, but even though the Australian team just stumbled, but then they got into a very good pace. They were well on their track to score the target runs, but they didn't lose a single wicket. That's like a dagger on the heart for Sri Lanka, but still we have to accept it. We never picked up wickets in the first match, so Warner and Finch really finishing off the match for Australia. Finch scored 61 of 40 balls, and Warner scored from 44 balls 70, and then the rain came in. Everyone thought, okay, yes, the rain is here, probably Duckworth-Lewis might come into play, but no wickets to lose, and why would we expect Sri Lanka to win? And that's how the rain just ceased, and Australia came back to batting. A comfortable win. Australia really showing how strong of a T20 side they are, because they are the defending T20 champions, so what more to expect from them? They won a very easy match. So the man of the match of first T20 was Hazelwood, obviously with 4 wickets he picked up and also destroying the middle order of Sri Lanka. What more to expect from him? So here we go, that was his man of the match performance. And in the second T20, it was the next day, like literal next day, and everyone thought, okay, in the first match Sri Lanka just lost very badly. Will the fans turn up? Was the question, and boy they did. In the second T20 as well, almost a full crowd in Ketharama Premadasa, and Sri Lanka again put into bat, and what did they do? Another 124 for the first innings. Their total was very, very dismal, and wickets, early on they just kept losing it. Jai Richardson came in and bowled very good spell in the first, and also imagine just losing wickets to Maxwell, a part-time bowler. That's something very hard to digest, but still Maxwell picked up some key wickets, and early on he picked up I think the second wicket as well. Even though Sri Lanka lost 2 early wickets, then Charith Asalanka and Kusal Mendis, yes, the long gone Kusal Mendis, his form just gone out of the roof. We expected him to be one of the legends of Sri Lanka, but he's nowhere near that. Now, at least now, he might just revamp his performance in the future, but as of now, he's still not the person who we would like to see. So Charita Asalanka and Kusal Mendis putting up a partnership somewhere around 60 odd runs, and everyone thought, okay, good middle order, and the Sri Lanka is building on something. Can they give a very good finish? And they didn't. As expected, they didn't. So let's see what happened after it. So after Charita Asalanka and Kusal Mendis did perish, then we expected the middle order to put some sort of a performance. Vanuka Rajapaksa, the real talk of the town sometimes in the second T20, because in IPL he performed very well for Punjab Kings, and you'd expect the same performance for him with Sri Lanka team as well, but he didn't. So some might argue, Vanuka Rajapaksa really batted high up the order in some matches of IPL. He was very volatile, batting at 1 down, 2 down at some instances, 5, 6 down at some instances, but still whenever he batted up the order, he got some runs for Punjab Kings. So why not take the gamble, Sri Lanka cricket? But they didn't. We have nothing to lose. Might have just promoted him up the order, but he didn't. Then Vanuka Rajapaksa not really scoring many runs. Then also captain Dashun Chanaka, 17 ball 14, might have done better, but he didn't. Then also Shamika Karunaratne or Vanindu Hasaranga, the lower order batsmen also not getting enough runs for Sri Lanka. At the end, 124, not a very huge target. So first match it was 128 and Australia just cakewalked, and then in this match we expected them to do the same, but that didn't happen. Sri Lankan bowling did turn up on the second T20, and what happened? So Australia in reply really started strongly, Warner and Finch getting off to a flyer, box office start, but then Vanindu Hasaranga came in. So Vanindu Hasaranga was someone we expect to take wickets in the power play, and he did. He picked up a wicket, then he went off, then he came to the other over, his second over, and then he picked up another big wicket. So then Sri Lankan fans thought, okay, we got 2 wickets in the power play, something might change. And then Tushar, the new bowler who just came into Sri Lanka, just played few matches for Sri Lanka, picked up Steven Smith, that too on an LBW. Picking Steven Smith on an LBW is such a rare feat. We saw Bumrah doing it in the Australian series down under, then Tushar has done the same, so which is quite good, picking up Steven Smith in the LBW. And then wicket kept tumbling for Australia. Then Vanindu Hasaranga came later and picked a couple of wickets. Dusmantha Chamira picked a wicket, and we had a run out as well for Warner. So these sort of things really contributing to the fall of wickets, the collapse of Australia. So Australia suddenly was 7 wickets down, needing 28 of 48 balls. So they had almost double the balls, easily could have cakewalked, and they pretty much did that. Matthew Wade and Jai Richardson. So Australia always have this low middle order who can bat. There is no bowlers who can't bat in Australia. Everyone can pick up a bat and then they can score fours and at least run singles, rotate strikes, and that's what Jai Richardson did. And Jai Richardson and Matthew Wade taking Australia at the end quite comfortably, but there were a few nervy moments. Sri Lanka could have picked wickets, and the inability to really clear the tail for Sri Lanka was something that wasn't welcomed by the Sri Lanka fans. So second match also gone with the roof. So 2 matches done and 2 losses. We have to go into the third match now. There's a change of location in Pallekala, and let's see what happened in Pallekala. Matthew Wade was made the man of the match in the second T20, and also another very, very bad thing for Sri Lanka, 40% fined because of slow rates. Come on, already we have lost, and if that's not enough, we got a fine as well. So everything really piled up going into the third T20. Everyone thought, okay, Australia just bashed Sri Lanka in the first and second T20s. Hopefully Sri Lanka, maybe a glimpse of hope to come back, and did that happen? Let's see. So in the third T20, Australia really electing to bat first. Why would they change? But they did, because chasing has always got their wins in the last 2 matches, but here they are going into bat. Early on, very good start from Australia. They got around 40 odd runs for no wicket loss, but then wicket did fell. So in the power play, they lost 1 wicket, but then around the 85th run mark, they suddenly lost 3 wickets. Mahesh Theekshana, then Vanindu Hasaranga, and also runner from Asalanka, really derailing Australia in terms of their middle order. So 3 quick wickets going down, and then we never know what's going to happen. Is the low order going to fire, or is it not going to fire? But they did. Marcus Stoinis came in and really changed the course of the match in terms of Australia for their innings in terms of batting first. So Stoinis came up and picked a few boundaries and got Australia to a very respectable score. And Sri Lankan bowling also wasn't the best, but they did their job. Australia got off to 176 at the end of the first innings, powered by Stoinis' 23 ball 36, which was very helpful. Now Sri Lanka's batting performance, Sri Lanka's opening, which failed in the second T20. Will they win, or will they put up a very good show in this match in terms of first wicket? And they did. Very good partnership between the openers. It wasn't a very spectacular start for Sri Lanka, but Sri Lanka's top 5 really put some runs to make Sri Lanka on the path. At the end of the power play, they were about 49 for 1, which was okay for a chasing team, especially wickets, and Sri Lanka really bat low down, and they have a very good batting side. I would say a very long batting side. So Sri Lanka did have hopes of winning the match. So in this match, Sri Lanka did take the gamble. They did throw the dice and put Manuka Rajapaksa a bit high, 2 down. He scored about 17 runs from 13 balls. Ashanega eventually picking him up on an LBW. Again, Sri Lanka's middle order not really doing the effort or doing something that was wanted in that match situation. Then came in the captain along with Chamika Karunaratne. What happened next was something miraculous for Sri Lanka. When Shanaka came on strike, 17 balls was there remaining, and then they needed 58 runs. So imagine scoring some 58 in 3 odd overs, and everyone thought, okay, another match going through the roof, and that's not what happened. Shanaka did really change the course of the match. That too for Hazelwood, he scored about a couple of sixes, couple of fours in the same over, and Hazelwood's very good spell up until then was really derailed, and he went as that expensive bowler. Then came in Jai Richardson. For Jai Richardson as well, Shanaka really scoring a couple of boundaries off his over, and eventually the game came down to the wire with 1 over needed, and even in that 1 over with a couple of wides in the first 2 deliveries, Sri Lanka needed 15 of 4 deliveries. That's like almost a miracle needed. Even in the gully cricket, you needed some miracle to win that match. So off that 15 runs of 4 balls, the first 2 was 4, and the second shot was really hard, really had to go above the infield, and third ball was the 6. Low down the order into the stands, into long off position, just straight down the ground. 1 needed of 1 ball, and this is where Jai Richardson really bowling that wide yorker, and eventually that goes into a wide, and the umpire did signal the wide. Sri Lanka eventually winning the match. This was a very good boost, because for a country that is in some very big problem in terms of economic and also a bit of instability, this win really put up a smile in the Sri Lankan fans' face. So third T20, Sri Lanka getting a win and moving on to the ODIs is something Sri Lanka would pick up. They would pick up the positives, and also I think Sri Lanka really believed on their bowling, which most of the time didn't really help them. Batting also a bit shaky. So going into the ODI, even though that's a different ball game, Sri Lanka have to really patch up their faults and their shortcomings. So let's see how the ODI tournament pans out, the ODI series pans out. In this series, let's look at a few stats. How and who got more runs, and which batsman was expected and not getting enough runs. All those matters next up for you. So who are the highest run scorers? David Warner. Now a revamped David Warner after being really dropped from Sunrisers squad in IPL. Then he came back and really performed very well. Now just continuing the IPL form. So out of 3 matches he scored 130. Then Aaron Finch also from 3 matches he scored about 114 runs. So Australian top order is what is helping them to propel them into good scores. And also from Sri Lankan perspective, Dasun Shanaka, yes, last match he scored, but Charit Asalanka, the only man who just passed the 100-run mark of the 3 matches, that too in a home series, only one batsman getting past the 100-run mark is something that can be changed, and more batsmen putting their names into it. And most wickets once again, Wanindu Hasaranga in second place, picking up 5 wickets. But Josh Hazelwood, what a tournament he's had. He had a very revolution, I should say, in terms of T20, because he was not considered as a T20 bowler. He was mainly as a test bowler and sometimes very good ODI bowler. But for 2020, you need to hit certain lengths. But again, Hazelwood just bowling that very good, nice, good length, disciplined ball and getting about 6 wickets, which was very good. So Hazelwood picking up 6 wickets and ending up as the highest wicket taker of this T20 tournament. And that is pretty much what we have in this T20 series and the analysis and also the summary. We'll meet you again for the ODI match and how the series pans out. We'll give you a detailed report on that as well. So until then, it's bye from Zana, it's bye from Sri Lankan Sports TV. Subscribe Sri Lankan Sports TV, and thanks. Have a nice day.